Mm, you hear those waves? There's nothing quite like it, is there? That gentle rhythm just washing away all the stress of the day. You know what goes with perfect waves like this? A story about justice, about a goddess named Nemesis who don't play when someone tries to steal credit for your brilliance. See, tonight I'm going to tell you about a weaver whose talent was so incredible that the gods themselves had to step in when a man tried to claim her work as his own. And darling, by the time Nemesis was done balancing those scales, well, let's just say the universe has a beautiful way of making sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve. Especially when it's peaceful like this and the world feels like it's listening. Now, if you're new here, welcome to my little corner of the internet. My name is Julius King, and what I do is create bedtime stories and sleep content for adults who need a little help winding down at the end of the day. Think of me as that southern gentleman who's always got time to sit on the porch and share a story that'll ease your mind and settle your spirit. I do everything from mythology, like tonight's tale, to original stories, to just general content that helps folks find peace before bed. There ain't no judgment here. No matter who you are or why you need help sleeping, we all deserve rest. And sometimes we need a gentle voice to help us get there. So, whether this is your first time listening or you've been here before, come on and get comfortable with me. You hear those waves gently rolling in? Well, if you do, then it's perfect timing for a story, don't you think? So let those shoulders drop. Let the tension from the day just melt away like foam on the shore. Close your eyes if you want to, and let my voice and these gentle waves wrap around you like a warm blanket on a cool southern night. I'm right here with you. And I ain't going nowhere until you're peaceful and ready for the sweetest dreams. Now, you know I love telling you about powerful women, and tonight's story is one of the most powerful of all. Nemesis, the goddess of divine retribution. But this ain't about vengeance, sugar. This is about balance, about justice, about making sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve in the most beautiful way possible. Picture this with me, darling. Mount Olympus in all its glory. Marble columns reaching towards clouds that shimmer with golden light. And walking through those halls with wings that catch the light like stained glass windows is Nemesis. She's got skin like polished bronze, hair that falls and flows like liquid night, and eyes that see straight through to the truth of every soul. But what makes her truly beautiful is her heart. Because Nemesis isn't about punishment. She's about equilibrium. She's about making sure pride gets humbled, that the overlooked get their moment to shine, and that love finds its way where it belongs. On this particular day, as the sun painted the sky in shades of rose and gold, Nemesis stood at the edge of Olympus, looking down at the mortal world. Her divine sight could see everything, every act of kindness unrewarded, every moment of arrogance that needed addressing, every heart that beat with quiet dignity, while others took credit for their worth. "Sister," came a voice behind her, smooth and knowing. It was Aphrodite, goddess of love, her golden hair catching the light like spun silk. "You've been watching the mortals again. That little line between your beautiful brows tell me you found something that needs adjusting." Nemesis smiled, an expression that held both warmth and warning. "There's a situation, Aphrodite. A woman whose kindness has been taken for granted too long, and a man whose pride has blinded him to what truly matters." "Ah," Aphrodite's eyes sparkled with interest. "Sounds like we might need to work together on this one." Now let me tell you about the mortals these goddesses were watching. Down in ancient Greece, in a coastal city where the Mediterranean sparkled like scattered diamonds, lived a woman named Althea. She was a weaver with hands that could create beauty from the simplest threads. Her tapestries told stories that made people weep with their beauty. But she worked in the shadow of a man named Lysander. Lysander owned the largest workshop in the city, and he built his reputation by taking credit for Althea's work. See, Althea worked for him out of necessity. A woman alone needed to eat, needed shelter, but every masterpiece that left his workshop, every commission from wealthy patrons, bore his signature, while her genius remained hidden. But here's what Lysander didn't know. Althea wasn't just talented. She was descendant of one of the fates, with just enough divine blood in her veins to make her special. And Nemesis had been watching, waiting for the right moment to restore the balance. "Watch this, sister," Nemesis whispered to Aphrodite, spreading her magnificent wings. "Sometimes justice requires a delicate touch," she said. She descended to the mortal realm on wings silent as whispered prayers, invisible to mortal eyes, but felt in the shift of fortune that was about to unfold. First, she visited Althea in her dreams. In that dream, Althea found herself in a workshop made of clouds and starlight, where golden threads seemed to weave themselves into patterns of impossible beauty. And there stood Nemesis. Though Althea didn't know the goddess's name, She just felt the presence of someone who understood every slight, every moment her brilliance had been diminished. "Your time is coming, daughter," Nemesis said, her voice like music that made the stars themselves pause to listen. "Trust in your gifts. Trust in the balance of all things." When Althea woke, her fingers tingled with new inspiration. And for the first time in years, she decided to create something just for herself. A tapestry that would bear only her name. While Althea worked in secret on her masterpiece, Nemesis turned her attention to Lysander. Now I want you to understand something. Nemesis wasn't cruel. She didn't seek to destroy at all, only to humble. So when she whispered certain truths into the right ears, when she guided certain conversations in the marketplace, it was all about revealing what was already there. See, pride has a way of making a man careless, and Lysander, so confident in his unearned reputation, made a fatal mistake. When the most important commission of his career arrived, a tapestry for the temple of Athena herself, he dismissed it as routine, barely glancing at the requirements before handing it off to his workers. But this commission was special. It required not just skill, but understanding of ancient symbols, divine stories, and threads that could only be woven by someone with true divine favor. Lysander's regular workers, talented as they were, simply couldn't manage it. Meanwhile, Althea poured her soul into her secret project, a tapestry that told the story of women throughout history whose achievements had been claimed by others. Every thread seemed to sing as she worked, guided by hands that remembered the touch of the divine. The day of reckoning came, as it always does. Lysander presented his inferior work to the temple priest, confident as always. But the head priest, blessed with eyes that could recognize true divine craftsmanship, looked at the tapestry and frowned. "This work lacks spirit," he said slowly. "Surely the great Lysander can do better than this." At the exact moment across the city, Althea hung her masterpiece in the window of her tiny room. The morning sun hit those threads, and it was like the gods themselves were speaking through the fabric. People stopped in the street, drawn by beauty they couldn't name but felt in their souls. Word spread like wildfire through the city. There was a tapestry more beautiful than anything anyone had ever seen, created by a woman whose name they'd never heard, but whose talent shone like divine light. This is where Aphrodite joined the dance, because the first person to see Althea's tapestry, to really see it and understand what it meant, was a young scholar named Demetrius. He'd always admired craftsmanship, always sought truth and beauty, and when he looked at Althea's work, he saw not just skill, but soul. He knocked on her door with reverence, like approaching a shrine. "Who are you?" he asked when Althea answered, her fingers still stained with dyes, her eyes bright with the pride of creation finally acknowledged. "I'm just a weaver," she said softly. "No." Demetrius shook his head, wonder in his voice. "You're an artist. You're divine." And when their eyes met, Aphrodite smiled from her place on Olympus, because true love recognizes true worth, and Demetrius saw Althea exactly as she was, brilliant, worthy, deserving of every recognition that had been denied to her. The temple priest, guided by whispers of divine justice, came to see Althea's work. They recognized immediately what they had been missing: true divine favor, authentic skill, beauty that came from the soul rather than the stolen inspiration. "Will you accept this commission?" the head priest asked Althea, his voice filled with respect that she'd never heard directed toward her before. Lysander's workshop, built on the foundations of stolen glory, crumbled within weeks. But here's the beautiful thing. Nemesis's justice wasn't about destroying him completely. It was about teaching him humility, about giving him a chance to learn the value of honest work. Some say he became one of Althea's apprentices, learning for the first time what it meant to create rather than simply claim. Whether that's true or not, I like to think even prideful hearts can find redemption when justice opens their eyes. Althea and Demetrius built something beautiful together. A workshop where artists were valued, where creativity flowed freely, where every signature meant something true. Their love story became legendary, not because it was perfect, but because it was built on recognition, respect, and the divine understanding that real love sees worth, even when the world refuses to. On their wedding day, the priests swore they saw two figures in the sky, one with magical wings and eyes like justice itself, the other radiant with the glow of love fulfilled. Nemesis and Aphrodite, watching their work bear fruit in the most beautiful way possible. You see, that's what divine justice really looks like. It's not about punishment for its own sake. It's about balance. It's about making sure the universe recognizes what deserves recognition, that love finds those who value it properly. The talent gets its due. Nemesis teaches us that the scales always balance evenly. Nemesis teaches us that the scales always balance eventually. Every kindness unrewarded will find its reward. Every talent overlooked will have its moment. Every heart that loves truly will find love that recognizes it. And you carry that same divine spark that Althea had. Every time you create something, every time you love deeply, every time you stand up for what's right, you're channeling that same energy that caught the attention of the gods. Don't ever let anyone diminish your light. Don't let them take credit for your brilliance or make you feel small for their comfort. The universe sees you, recognizes you, and the scales are always working to bring you exactly what you deserve. Now, as you drift off to sleep, I want you to remember this story. Remember that justice and love walk hand in hand. That your worth doesn't depend on others recognizing it. And that somewhere in the cosmos, the divine forces are always working to bring balance to your world. Close those beautiful eyes. Let my voice be the last thing you hear as you float into dreams of your own divine recognition. Dream of tapestries that tell your story, of love that sees your true worth, of justice that rights every wrong you've ever suffered. I'll be right here, watching over you until the morning comes with new possibilities. Sleep sweet, and remember, you are divinely worthy of every good thing coming your way. Rest now. The goddess of justice herself is smiling down on you tonight.